Hey guys, and welcome back to Divine Journey 2. Last episode we expanded out the base here and added room for our empowerers. This was so that we could create elevatium ingots and make a start down, I guess, part 2 of Mekanism. And we progressed far enough to be able to craft the laser drill from Industrial Foregoing. And this thing is going to give us iridium ore. Actually, while I'm here, we need some obsidian. Let me grab some of this. But now that we have access to iridium, we can create our, well, first of all, the methodology processors. And with those, we can create our Applied Energistics Interfaces. But yeah, first the processors. And you know how I've been saying that, oh yeah, this thing's going to get changed and we're going to rebuild this Inscriber setup? Well, today's the day. And we're going to start off with our Inscribers. And I think a layout something like this should be a little bit more easy to expand. We can expand this vertically. So I ended up not really liking where it was sitting right about here, so I moved it over a little bit, and we now have 6 tiers of processors automated here. It does still kinda look like a mess, but it's organised chaos at least. And when we get some conduit facades, we can put blocks in these spaces. But I think it's more or less the best you can do with these inscribers. Much later on, we do get access to the mass inscriber multi-block, which looks like this. So when we get access to this thing, of course we'll swap out all of these ones. So there is still 3 more tiers of processors that I haven't automated yet, but those take things like thaumium and awakened draconium. And it's going to be a while before we get access to those. But when we do, those are going to sit right here. So the setup for this is also greatly simplified. I'm only using 2 channels for this. The input for all the inscribers is on brown and everything has its own filters. And then we extract all the finished items back on blue. So that means we can just load up this chest with every ingredient we have. We don't have to worry about putting them in separate barrels or anything. And then it will just spit out processors for us. This is going to make it easier once we get interfaces, as we can just set it down more or less anywhere, connect it up to this conduit, and then set the input on brown and output on blue. Alright, so the next project for today is to get our interfaces up and running. And to do that, we need Osmiridium, of course. And it's quite good that we get 2 for every piece of iridium. And I think we're going to pretty much just use all of this to make processors. Oh nice, another trophy. Alright, so with that opens up autocrafting for us. I've been waiting so long to get access to this stuff. But I think before we start automating anything, I'm going to batch craft a bunch of these things, which means I have to make some machine frames. And this is more chassis and more alloys. Hopefully for the last time though, as once we get a few of these interfaces, we can start automating all of these alloys. Alright, so after some crafting, I've gathered up enough materials to make 4 of our first interfaces. Finally, automation, yeah. So the first thing we're going to want to try and do with these interfaces is to make some more of them. But since this is such a nested craft in this pack, it's kind of hard to know exactly where to start. But I think the best place is going to be to start making all of these alloys that I've got pinned up here. A lot of these can be made in different machines. The cheapest one is probably the induction smelter though. So if that option is available, I think we're just going to go for that. But the rest of them, like the dark steel, I think have to be made in alloy smelters. So I've crafted up a few of the simple ones just to get them going, and then we can upgrade the machines later on. But since we're going to be doing this passively, it doesn't need to be like super fast to begin with. Alright, so we're going to start off with electrical steel, pulsating iron, and solarium. These are 3 very easy alloys to make, and only require 2 materials, which means we'll need 3 induction smelters. Alright, so I think we're going to set up all of our alloys on this little wall here, and the pattern we're going to go for is we're going to go leave a space, and then we're going to go machine into drawer. And then we can stack this vertically. We can hook up some power on the back. And then we're going to put down our interface and connect this up to our AE system. And then we'll run some conduit up the side of the machines. So the first alloy we want is electrical steel, which is silicon and steel ingots. So we can add both of these into the interface, set it to 64, and the ME system will automatically keep these items in stock. We'll hide from the interface terminal, and we'll set the conduit to extract brown. And then on this first induction smelter, we're going to put a limited item filter for 1 steel ingot and 1 silicon. Make sure to set the insert on the left hand side. And so this will just constantly run and produce us electrical steel. But obviously we don't want it to run through all of our silicon and all of our steel. So what I'm going to do for now is put a storage downgrade on this output drawer. And this way it will only buffer 1 stack. Since we're in the beginning stages of automation, this is probably the best way to do it for now, so that we're only buffering a stack in the machine and a stack in our drawer. And we'll do this for all of the alloys that we set up at the moment. Since we don't have things like ore processing or that, our materials are not infinite yet. So we'll set the output on the left hand side, and we'll lock the drawer, and that is electrical steel on passive. So now it's going to be a similar thing for pulsating iron. All we have to do now is add pearls and iron to the interface, set the input, and the output, storage downgrade, and we'll lock the drawer. And I think to connect up these drawers, we're going to make it a separate drawer network to this one that we have on the other side. So I'm going to put a separate drawer controller under here. And we'll put another storage bus on this thing, set to high priority. And the next one I've got set up here is solarium ingots. So for the electrical steel, we still have to automate silicon fully. And we also have to fix our steel production. So the steel we have semi-automated over here. Let's fix this though. So what I think we'll do is actually remove this crusher. We can use this elsewhere. And yeah, we'll also take away this osmium compressor. This is for glowstone ingots, but I guess we'll move this elsewhere as well. And while we're at it, we can actually tidy this up a little bit more. Let's shuffle some of these machines around. So I think something like this will work a bit better. So we have the enrichment chamber for coal. This is going to give us the compressed coal, so I've hooked up a fresh interface here. This is connected to our P2P connection that comes in from our controller over there. So we're going to run some item conduit along the back side. And we'll hook up all of these machines. So here we want to ask for iron ingots and also coal. So the coal is going to come in from the bottom of the enrichment chamber. And then out the back, we're going to get the compressed, which has to go into these two metallurgic infusers. And then the smelter is going to take its input from the left and output to the right hand side. And this is where we'll store our steel drawer here. And the last part is to filter iron inside the first metallurgic infuser. So this will compress it into enriched iron, I think, enriched iron dust, which goes up to the second one, makes a steel blend, and then we smelt the steel blend. Yeah, I was just thinking maybe we want to buffer a stack in a drawer in between the smelter and the metallurgic infuser, but I don't think it's necessary. And we're still just getting power over on this part of the base from our Mekanism wires and immersive engineering cables here. Once we're rich enough, we'll switch it out with a power cell. And this drawer, I don't think I'm going to put a storage downgrade on since we use so much steel. I'm fine just letting it make 32 stacks of this stuff. And we can always upgrade this in the future. So with this extra space, I think we're going to move these metallurgic infusers over for basic control circuits and enriched alloy. As I was maybe thinking about tearing down this wall here, and we'll have a bit more of an open space on this side of the room. I'm not too sure about that yet, but I do want to utilise the rest of the space in this interface, as it's quite inefficient to have this here just for iron and coal. So I've decided to stack this one vertically. We've got the enrichment chamber for redstone. I think with the Mekanism machines you can't input and output on the same side, which is a bit unfortunate. It does cost us some extra item conduit here, but it's not really a big deal at this point. And then these metallurgic infusers have to take their infusing slot on the back, and they will output on the right hand side. And I guess with the extra space here, we can put back our osmium compressors. And I'm going to move the other one over here as well for refined obsidian. Alright, so these I've configured to input osmium from the back. And then the first one is glowstone, which gets input the top via a filter. And the second one is refined obsidian dust to give us the ingots. And I've also put our drawer controller back with some frame trim, just to connect up all of the drawers to the one network. And there's a storage bus on the underside of this thing. So it's not the prettiest setup in the world. These Mekanism machines aren't the easiest things to work with, and it could also do with some conduit facades and things. But I think the next thing we should tackle is refined obsidian dust, as this is made in the metallurgic infuser over here. So for this we need pulverized obsidian, and I guess we also need compressed diamonds for this as well. And we're quickly running out of interfaces here. So I think for this setup I also kind of want to change some things around here. And you know what, we can make this even more space efficient. So I think we're going to move our, what is this, atomic alloy? Yeah, we can move this onto these 4 squares over here. Something like that. And then that way we can connect this to this drawer network. So to make the atomic alloy, we have to do reinforced, which we're making behind us here. We're going to redo that. And we also need compressed obsidian, but to get this we need the refined obsidian dust. And conveniently, we already have this in this interface, so that's going to save another slot here. We're already asking for refined obsidian. We just have to add that to this enrichment chamber. That's going to make us compressed obsidian, where it's going to get output to the bottom. And then this metallurgic infuser has to take its infuse from the top, and the reinforced alloy has to be input from the back, and then it's going to output to the right hand side. So yeah, I would say that's a pretty decent use of the space here. Let's now turn our attention to this mess of a wall now. So we need to make refined obsidian dust, atomic alloy, and I guess pulverized obsidian here as well. Alright, so the first step I've got here is an enrichment chamber for pulverized obsidian. And again, I've put a storage downgrade on this since we don't have infinite obsidian yet. I think that's something we'll get to next. So we also need the enrichment chamber for diamonds to make compressed diamonds. This will need some muffling upgrades. So this is going to be output on blue channel, and then we can round robin between these 2 metallurgic infusers. Which again, unfortunately have to take their input from a different side, so it means we have to run some more conduit up the side here. Alright, so I hooked up the reinforced alloy as well. This takes the enriched alloy, which we're making back here. And now we have another 3 items on passive. So the next thing I would like to do is tackle silicon. I would like to be able to produce all of the basic blocks. So I would like something that produces us stone, cobblestone, gravel, sand, glass, sandstone, and silicon. So for most of these, we can actually use igneous extruders, like for the stone. I think the igneous extruder is going to be plenty fast enough for our stone requirements. And for the silicon, there's a few ways we can do this. Most of them do require multiple machines though, and I think the simplest way is just to use a material stonework factory. Which isn't the easiest thing to craft for us right now, but I think it's going to be worth making. Alright, so we've got a blank canvas to work with here. I've also moved this induction smelter. This used to sit right here. But I moved the drawer over to this side, and that means that we can tighten this up a little bit more. Alright, so the first item that we want to make here is cobblestone, and I think the best way to do that is just to put down our extra utilities cobblestone generator that we had. So we'll start with a basic vanilla cobblestone generator underneath. Then we'll put a transfer node with the upgrades on there. Hook it up to our drawer, and that has given us cobblestone. So the next ones we want are gravel, which we can make with the igneous extruder, and also stone. Both of these do require water, so we can have an unending bowl with some fluid conduits. And when you're making stone and gravel, these don't actually consume the lava. It only consumes the water, so once we put in one bucket, it will infinitely make us the stone. And I guess we'll put back the drawers that were already full, or nearly full. So yeah, the next one is going to be the silicon, which we're going to use the material stonework factory for. So we just have to set this to triple grind mode, and then this will output silicon for us, which we're going to output on the bottom. Actually, these machines don't auto output, do they? I guess not, which means we need some item conduit on the back. Alright, so that is silicon. The next one we want is sand. I think the easiest way to do this one is again in the stonework factory. Otherwise we're going to be pulverizing multiple times here. Alright, and sand is now being automated. I think the next one is going to be sandstone. What we actually want from the sandstone is the niter, which we can get from pulverizing this thing. So for this one we need the stonework factory as well as a pulverizer. So you know what, maybe instead of doing sand like this, we change this to doing sandstone. Decided to move the stonework factory over to this side above the cobblestone. So this is giving us our sandstone, which is being output to the pulverizer, where we're making the niter and also the sand. So I guess this saves on a machine, and then we're outputting that to a double drawer here. So the next time we're going to passive is snowballs, and these things are used in blizz powder, which we have set up over here. But for the snowballs, we're going to use a glacial precipitator for this. So these snowballs are technically not part, same with the niter actually, technically not part of making more interfaces, but since we're setting up silicon, we may as well set up the rest of our Cobbleworks here. So I've hooked up the glacial precipitator, given it some water, and we're getting snowballs. And actually, do we need regular snow as well? I guess we will have to automate regular snow. Yeah, it's going to be used for empowered Inori, so we'll want the snow blocks as well. We could either set up another glacial precipitator, or we could actually just do a crafter. Yeah, you know what, I think it's better just to set up another glacial precipitator for this. Actually, what am I thinking here? We have compacting drawers. Yeah, that's totally better. And I guess we should also use compacting drawers for stone and gravel as well. Oh, it looks like stone doesn't work. I thought we could make stone brick like this, but I guess not. So the next thing I would like to look at automating is obsidian, as we need this for our refined obsidian dust. And I think the best way to do this is just to do the igneous extruder. This does mean we will need a magma crucible for lava, and this is very slow, until we can make the pyroconvective loop. But this thing takes some blood magic reagents that we don't quite have access to yet. But I think we're actually not too far off getting into blood magic. But since this process is going to be passive, I think it'll be just fine being slow. Okay, so we also have to hook up cobblestone to this magma crucible to give us the lava. So we're going to place another interface for these setups. And we can use this also for our fluid transposers over there. So we're going to filter the interface for cobblestone, which I guess we're just making right here. So technically we could have pulled it from this drawer. And doing it like this, pulling from the ME system, kind of keeps the storage drives we have, the 1K cells in our ME drive, a little bit cleaner since we're using priorities on the drawers. Which means that it will prioritize extracting from over there first. So we just have to run some conduit up to this magma crucible and filter for cobblestone. And very, very, very slowly we're going to make lava, which is going to be output to the bottom. This igneous extruder is going to input from the bottom and input water from the back, and then output to the bottom where we have another drawer. So since we have our ME connection over here, I've also hooked up this top line of drawers to another drawer controller with a storage bus. We technically could have hooked it into this one, but that kind of means sacrificing the aesthetics on the top. So I kind of wanted to keep this a bit more clean. And now that we have our interface here, we can also add snowballs, pulverized obsidian, blaze powder, which we still have to automate actually, so we'll pin that for later on, and also niter. And all of these have to go into these fluid transposers to give us the respective dusts. Actually, I guess we're trying to make blaze powder here. Yeah, we need sulfur in here. Alright, so I've hooked up the inputs on the back of these fluid transposers for all of the input items. These also need liquid XP though. And we're getting loads and loads of XP from our mob farm over here. So we can put a fluid storage bus on this drum. And you know what, I think we'll also move our XP bottler upstairs as well. And we need these bottles of enchanting for RF powder. Oh, looks like the fluid interface has got an equally nasty recipe on this thing as well. We need another machine frame for this thing. We could use the fluid export bus, but I think those are less performant than the interface is. So there I guess is our first fluid interface, which we're going to hook up just below these fluid transposers. And then we can export on the back with some fluid conduit. Man, I love conduits. Look at this thing. I mean, you could never do this with Mekanism cables. So then, just like the regular item interface, we can add liquid XP to our fluid interface. And then we just have them exporting on all of the inner fluid conduits. Alright, so now I guess we need a place for this XP bottler. And we'll also have to supply this thing with glass bottles, obviously. And that actually reminds me, we're not currently producing glass either. So let's first of all add glass to our Cobbleworks over here, which I think means crafting another material stonework factory. And we can add our glass right about here, I think. So for glass, we want double grind into furnace mode. Yeah, and then we just have to give this some power. And also a drawer. Alright, so that is glass automated. So now that we have glass, we can actually autocraft bottles for this thing. And I think we can get away with another formulaic assembler, similar to what we have over here. Yeah, this thing. So we need a formulaic assembler and one of these crafting formulas. So the glass I've added into our interface here to collect it from that drawer over there, which is being imported into the formulaic assemblicator. We then have to set the recipe for this thing, so we need to encode the formula. And then from here, I think we want auto mode on. Yeah, and this will automatically craft us glass bottles. And then we're using the auto output function to import it into this XP bottler where we're getting the bottles of enchanting. And then these we can auto eject to the top side, and this will put it in the drawer. And I think for these though, I do want to storage downgrade this. These conduits are definitely a winner this episode. One more thing we can do actually to optimize this wall a bit more is we can auto import coal. So we need coal here for the energized dark ingots. So just a quick recap on the dark ingot recipe, we need refined fuel, which comes from naphtha, and this comes from liquefacted coal. It's probably the easiest way to get this, which is what I was manually putting in this chest here. But I think instead we'll swap this out with a pulverizer. We can put the pulverizer probably here. Yeah, I think something like this should work. We just have to hook up the inputs from the interface back here. And then we can add some item conduit on the back and set the item conduit filter. Alright, so that is automatically producing us liquefacted coal from the magma crucible and then distilling it all the way down to refined fuel. But actually, this is going to eat through quite a large amount of coal if we do this. Oh, I guess we also get a sulfur byproduct. That's actually very handy here. We can output this to the bottom, and that way we have sulfur for our blaze powder here. Yeah, we just have to change the output of this one to yellow, I think. Yeah, and that's going to fill this drawer with sulfur. But I think we should maybe look into a way of stopping this though, because this is going to chew through a large amount of coal to do this. So either we can stop the dark ingots, or we can maybe level them at one of these machines. Also, I've just realised we have sulfur right here. You know what, 2 sulfur drawers never hurt anyone. We're going to keep it like this. But we do have to connect these 3 drawers up, so I'm going to put some trim along here, I think. Alright, so I decided to move some things around to make it a little bit more space efficient. And I also got rid of the duplicate sulfur barrel here. I keep calling them barrels as well. In interactions I was calling the barrels drawers, and here we're calling the drawers barrels. So yeah, I think this setup's more or less complete. There is some space we can squeeze some more machines in here. But on the back, I tried to keep it fairly neat. There is an extra conduit here though. And so I decided to control the amount of coal that we were using here just by configuring this drawer. So we have 3 storage upgrades and 1 storage downgrade. So that in total it only holds 6 stacks of energized dark ingots, which I think is enough of a buffer of dark ingots, and will also be buffering in these machines as well for the fluids. Alright, so now that we have refined obsidian and also energized dark ingots on passive, let's now set up the dark steel. And I couldn't tell you how many stacks of this I've made over the last few days. It has to be at least 20 stacks of this stuff. This is used absolutely everywhere, and we need this for end steel, and then we need end steel for melodic alloy as well. Alright, so for dark steel, we can just put an alloy smelter and hook up a drawer, set the filters on the interface, and then set the import filter on the alloy smelter. And now we're passively producing our dark steel. And same story with this, I think we're going to do the storage downgrade for this. And then eventually we'll also upgrade this simple alloy smelter, as this is way too slow, even for a passive machine. So yeah, now that we have dark steel, we can make end steel and melodic alloy. But for that we will need another ME interface, as we've almost run out of slots in this one. So I was able to craft our last one. I don't think we have any more brown slime for this. And to make brown slime we need mithril, which we're actually out of. So that's something else to add to the passive list. But this list is getting longer by the hour. So yeah, actually how many channels are we on here? We're on 5. Okay, so we've still got some more to spare. We can put another interface behind this one. And then we can just stack 2 more alloy smelters. So one of the reasons I left a space in this machine configuration setup is for things like the melodic alloy. So for this we need popped chorus fruit. And to get popped chorus fruit, we are actually farming chorus in our farming station. But we're getting this regular chorus fruit, so we have to smelt this to pop it. So to do that, I'm going to put a furnace right before this alloy smelter. And this way we can add in our chorus fruit to the interface, and then filter it for this smelter. And we're going to insert and export on brown channel, since we have the filter set already for the simple alloy smelter. Actually, oh wait, hold on, we can't do this with the Mekanism machine, can we? Yeah, because it has to be on separate sides. Well, instead of messing with Mekanism, we're just going to use thermal expansion. And that way we can import and export on the same side. Alright, and now we have end steel and melodic alloy on passive. So I think the last 4 we're going to do today is Electrum, Constantan, Bronze and Invar. And for these we're going to use more induction smelters. But you know the drill by now, more filters and more items to add to the interface. Look at all the ingots we have created. There's still many more to add though. We still have to add things like red alloy and vibrant alloy, energetic. All of this stuff has to be added to this massive tree of induction smelters and alloy smelters. Eventually we're going to hit the limit on the amount of drawers that we can have. I think this only goes 14 blocks away from the controller. But I reckon we'll maybe add 2 more on top of this and then we'll just start a new line. But yeah, with that we've also run out of iron. So I mean, not run out of iron, we have like 300 stacks of iron ore. We don't have any way to process it though. I'm still just throwing it through manually through this enrichment chamber. So I think probably next episode we're going to look at some ore processing. So yeah, not too much progress in terms of the quest book today, but we got a lot of stuff fully automated here. And don't worry about this empty space, we will almost definitely find a use for this. I am really liking how this thing turned out though. I think this works quite well the way we have it. We will have to buffer obsidian production though, which is mainly due to the lava. But yeah, I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with this wall. I still may end up tearing this thing out, just to make it a little bit more open, and then we can have some open setups in the middle of the room here. Let me know what you think about this area though. So yeah, with that I think this is also a good point to wrap up the episode. We got a lot of things automated today. Between episodes I may also add a few more ingots to our alloy smelter wall here. But I think tomorrow we may actually do some more building. I would like to flesh out this base a bit more. And also build out some new rooms for some new setups I have in mind. Mainly this area down here, underneath our controllers. I do actually have a plan for this area, so maybe we'll tackle that next time. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for some more Divine Journey 2.